Hello everyone, welcome back. So according to the diagram, so far we have covered the navigation bar, the home components, photo list, side panel, and login register. And in this lesson, we will cover the My Album component. Okay, so let's just come back to our editor and right click on the components folder to create a new file. So I'm going to save this file as my-album.component.ts. Okay. So again, what this does is that it imports the component and input. We have something new called input from Angular core library, and we invoke the photo service, user service. We haven't defined a user service yet, but we'll be adding those very soon. And we import the user model, photo model, and the router from the Angular router. And the annotation part is pretty much the same, similar to other components. And within this class, we define a photos array and a user, and also the selected photo. So my album is something that displays the list of photos that is added by this user. Okay. So we're gonna have a photo array to display photos related to this user. And then we have this selected photo, which is when you click on a photo, you will come to a detailed information of the photo. So we need to specify which photo it is. That's the selected photo. And of course, the user is just the user that has logged in. So first, we define our constructor for the class. We define the instance of the photo service, the router instance, and the user service instance as well. Okay, and then we use the user service to get the user by name. We can use the local storage to fetch the currently logged in username. And with the user has been fetched, we're gonna use the photo service to get photos by user to retrieve all photos related to this user. Okay, and we're gonna pass the results to the photos array. And then we define a onSelect method. Basically, we are defining which photo has been selected and clicked. And then we will use the router.navigate to change to a different path, that is to go to the image-detailed path. In the router configuration file, we haven't defined this yet, but we'll be adding those very soon with a parameter that is attached to this navigation. And this attachment is just the photo ID that we want to use to retrieve the photo information. Okay, so we haven't defined a user service yet, but let's first define the HTML file first. So right click on the components folder and create a new file. And we're gonna paste in the code and save it as my-album.component.html. Okay. So again, this is pretty straightforward. We are basically using an ng for to loop through the photos array and to get each instance of the array, and we're gonna display the image and the corresponding information like the title and number of likes. Okay, and at the bottom we have a button to add photo, which will be invoking the add photo service or module. We'll be adding those in the next lesson. Okay. And after that, we define the user service. So we're gonna save it as user.service.ts. And again, we have the user import part, add injectable for service, and we define a users array, constructor to get instance of HTTP, and we have a get user by ID. I haven't implemented yet, so this could be a legacy code, but we do need to use the get user by name. Okay, so we have a username, and we're gonna visit this link to retrieve the user. And once we visit the backend and get the user retrieved, okay, we're gonna use that in our myalbum.component.html. So after we have added those components and services, right, we need to come back to our app.module.ts. We're gonna add the component. That is to say, we're gonna define the my album component from components my dash album dot component. And we're going to import the user service as well. User.service. Okay. And then we're going to define that in the declaration and providers as well. And the next thing is that we need to change the routing, because we have a button called My Album on the navigation bar, and once we click that button, we should be redirected to this path as My Album. So you remember those paths here, My Album, login, register, home, they're all defined in the navigation bar HTML file. Okay, so if you want to take a look at that, so we have the router link here: home, My Album, register, and login. All right. So we have component, my album component. So once we have that, okay, so this is not recognized. That's because I need to import that. Album. Okay. Refresh, come back to our web page. Okay, try to log in. Submit, click on My Album. So there's nothing added here yet, but that's okay. We'll implement the add photo function later, and those added photos will be displayed in this page. Okay, so that's pretty much for this lesson. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.